we'll see. So we just want to finish up here this last piece that tries to bring it all together in this first Maamar of the Pachad Yitzchok that we did. That just to remember, you start off with the question of why halachically Shabbos brings panim chadashot, a new face, regarding Sheva Brachot for Chassan and Kali, even without the physical presence of a new person, right? And we talked about how Shabbos is on Shabbos there is this revelation of the pnimiyut, of the essence of things, because to the point where it negates all previous understanding of reality, and that's a function of dat that's introduced with the creation of man on Friday, and therefore on Shabbos, even though dat was introduced to the world on Friday, you only really see dat in action on Shabbos because it facilitates that great revelation of Shabbos, which is a function of dat, and therefore everybody that has dat, meaning a man, has a more magnified sense of manness, of humanity. Their face is more shining, and the quality of dat that the pnimiyut can cut through the special dimension of Shabbos, that the pnimiyut can cut through the normally the obfuscating element of the outer covering, and like the face, which is called the panim, which is a revelation of the pnim, the inside, has more dat on a person's face on Shabbat. So all of Shabbat introduces this level where all of humanity is uplifted. There's like a revelation of the sense of humanity as a whole, specifically through dat. That is, right, we talked about how that's manifest through the Mizmor Shel Yom HaShabbos. We talked about all these wonderful things. Okay, so, Sif Tet Vav. V'hineno noatzim et chatimat ha'ma'amar b'ptichato. Now we're going to bring it all together. The end of the Maamar, the essay, to back to the beginning again. To'amea chayim zachu. Those who taste it, remember we said, To'amea chayim zachu, those who tasted from it, To'amea, those who tasted from it, zachu, they merited to chayim. So when you taste Shabbos, it results in life, right? And To'amea chayim zachu, but we're comparing that with another statement.
A detailed.
V'gam ha'ohavim devarah, those who love its commandments, gedula bacharu, they have chosen for themselves greatness. So the relationship to the laws of Shabbos, right? The love of the laws of Shabbos bring greatness. You've chosen greatness, and if you've tasted Shabbos, that you have merited to life. Ve'amadnu, and we focused, right? We investigated, we stood on al shenityaxsa hazchiyah b'chayim la'agashat ta'ama shel Shabbos, that particular statement relates the meriting of life to the feeling of the taste of Shabbos. Lefi kol hamivuar le'el, according to everything we have explained earlier, lomdim anu tov tam v'dat b'yachas. And now we can understand a good reason and the inner meaning of this relationship. Ro'im anu b'parshat Bereshit, we see in Bereshit, she'af al pi she'inyan ha'chiyut b'chlal, nitparesh gam lefnei yitzirat adam, mikol makom, tevat chayim lo nizkara ad shat briuto shel nishmat ha'adam. That even though the idea of chiyut was generally expressed in the story of Bereshit before the creation of man, right? Nefesh chaya, we talked about, but the word chayim, specifically chayim, is not mentioned until the moment of the creation or of the soul of man. It says vayipach ba'apav nishmat chayim. It doesn't say the full word chayim. It doesn't have your name chayim. In the Chumash, the first time it appears is with the neshama, in breathing the neshama into Adam. Okay? Ayin sham hetev baramban. It's worth.
I didn't understand what he's saying.
Okay, the word chayim doesn't appear in the Chumash till the investment of a soul in Adam.
Right.
Chiyut is mentioned in the Chumash, but not the word chayim. It says nefesh chaya. Chayim, to'ameh chayim zachu. Chayim is directly, the Torah talks about it when Adam got his soul. Okay? Ayin sham hetiv beramban. You should check out the Ramban's commentary up there. Amnam, however, perusham shel divrei haRamban elu yotzim he mehekef Maamar zeh. But the Ramban, really, his approach is beyond the scope of this work. Aval yeh me'ezeh tam sheyeh, forever, whatever reason it will be, ro'im anu mikan, we see from there, ki oto hachiyut hanigderet b'tevet chayim, the vitality that's specifically used that's specifically referred to with the word chayim over there, miyuchedeti, it is special and unique, ach v'rak la'adam. It's associated specifically with man. Al inyan zeh, regarding this, hamit paresh lahedya beparshat Bereshit atzma ha'amidu chachamim et matpei ha'tfila to'amei ha'chaim zachu. That the chachamim are directly responding to that in their statement of to'amei, those who tasted from it, chaim zachu. That they tasted the life set aside for Adam when he was given a neshama. That's what you're touching. That's what you're experiencing in tasting Shabbos. Chaim dafka, specifically this level of vitality called chaim. Kelomar, that is to say, mekivan she'ota hachiyut hanigderet betevat chaim yuchedet hi ach v'rak lemahut adam. Since this level of vitality that we call specifically chaim is reserved specially for the essence of man, the harei shoresh berchata shel Shabbos, and the root of the blessing of Shabbos, hu hosafat mahut adam. That's the increasing of the manifestation of the level of Adam in the world. Like we said before, with the dat, there's a chidush of a new level of Adam that's manifest, right? Whether it's that's seen through the Ma'or Panim. So mimela nimtza, through that, it turns out, right? A direct response of that is ki hargasha b'tama Shabbos, the taste, right? The feeling of a taste or meaning in Shabbos. That is hazikoi. That is what a person has merited to when a person experiences the chayim, the full gamut of chayim that was invested into man, specifically through the onset of a dimension of Shabbos, right? That's meaning it's the dimension of Shabbos that allows him to fully experience and embody the chayim that was invested to him in the creation of man. Okay? So now he's linking chayim to the essence of a human being, which is dat.
Although you would have thought that if Chaim, the essence of Chaim is Shabbat, we have the anomaly of the fact that Chaim was given to man on Friday.
No, there's the same exact thing as dat. Remember, everything where does man appear? On Friday. But when does man really, really, really become himself, and where's the whole world integrating that aspect of man that now there's a higher revelation of everything? On Shabbos. Man only really becomes man on Shabbos, just like the whole world only really becomes the world on Shabbos. So that which is invested during the week of Nasa Adam really only is revealed through Shabbos, which elevates everything else. That's what we've been saying until now, right? So also the Chayim, that Chayim really, Adam would only, and the truth is that we know this even if Adam Rishon wouldn't have sinned from the Eitz Hadat, his Chayim that he would have had invested in would have only come into bear after Shabbos as a Chayim Nitzchi, a forever life. Well, he would have eaten from the Eitz Chaim, right? So that Chaim that was invested in him on Friday was only an investment that would become to bear with the onset of Shabbos. That's by design. We understand that, right?
So the implication of all of that is that our real life is on Shabbat.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's pashut. Da. Right? That's what we say. That's what Shabbat is all about. Not only that, it's not just our chiyut, it's the whole world. The whole world is really not itself till Shabbat. That's how we describe the relationship between the 6 days of the week and Shabbos. You think what's going on, this is the world, and all of a sudden some magic dimension, there's a quantum leap on Shabbos that reveals how everything is not really that, and there's something deeper. And that's called Shvita. What is that dimension? That's Shabbos. I don't know what Gan Eden Atachton, what you're talking about. Do you want to explain what you mean? How do you know that? How do you know that?
I don't know how you word these like this, but it's like a what? Gan Eden, right?
Well, I'll tell you that if you want to know more about that, I would suggest that you learn Maamar Dalet with me, and you'll understand that really Gan Eden is something that we talk about nowadays. We don't talk about Gan Eden in terms of the Bereshis, what happened in the garden. When we talk about Gan Eden, we mean a place that disembodied souls go to while they're waiting for the whole world to get to the days of Mashiach. So you're going to see that there's two kinds of the end. I'm giving you a sneak peek, just because you mentioned it. It really has nothing to do with anything except Maamar Dalet. But
Maamar Dalet here.
Yes. Okay. It's like this. There's the individual journey and there's the collective journey. The individual journey is when a person is done with their personal mission in this world, they go to Gan Eden. But when all of humanity and all of the world finally achieves this mission, then we're supposed to go to Yom Shekulo Shabbos. Right? A time where after Mashiach comes, where the whole world will be filled only with the knowledge of God. The only people that will be here will be tzaddikim, and they will have a body and a soul. So the idea is that in Gan Eden, there is no body. In the world to come, all after Tchiyat HaMeitim, we will ultimately benefit from the closest that we can to be with God with a body. So the oneg of Shabbos is closer to the oneg, the delight, the spiritual delight of the end of time, than it is for the disembodied soul in Gan Eden, because oneg is truly only possible with body and soul together. So what you're experiencing on Shabbos is the dimension of the end of time that is creeping back through, meaning you're having a me'ein. Shabbos is me'ein olam haba. It's 1/60th of Yom Shekulo Shabbos. And that's really what you're experiencing. So you start thinking about that, and we can continue the conversation later. But
Olam Haba and Gan Eden are two separate things.
yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
So
Now that we can have intelligent, we have to be specific about our terminology and everything. But this is really, if you want to talk about that in a class setting, maybe when we learn Maamar Dalet. But it's hard when we bandy around all these terminology and we don't really understand what we mean. So it's good to understand there's actually things happening. So oneg on Shabbos, that dimension of Shabbos, that comes from, God is beyond time. As far as he's concerned, that happened also. Meaning, what we understand from that time is something that's only experienced locally from your perspective here in this current dimension. I mean, you can't be in past, present, and future at the same time. But they all exist concurrently. The past, you're not in it anymore, it's still alive. And the future that you didn't experience yet in this form is already there. Okay, so meaning that reality is actually feeding into this dimension. On Shabbos, you get to taste. And in fact, the way the Tsfat Israel talks about it, Shabbos is almost like a time machine, because it's a portal in time that you can transcend time. And on Shabbos, you can connect to other Shabboses and other. I mean, it's real. It's amazing. But okay, we're going to pause here. We're going to pause that conversation. I want to finish up here, okay? So we're saying that the Chayim, which is the full embodiment of man, that which was the best of man, only really, really is fully manifest on Shabbos, like we're saying, okay? Because where does the world, right? The world will, in Yom Shekulo Shabbat, that's the ultimate meaning and the ultimate intent. Remember, we say, Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. The end, ultimately, the end is supposed to reveal what God initially intended, right? But till we get there, you're not going to see it. Right? So Shabbos changed. The Shvisa, we said, is not the cessation of what's happening during the 6 days of the week. It's just that all of a sudden, because of the revelation of the true essence on Shabbos, it nullifies the importance that we initially assigned to them. And that's what we call the Shvisa. Okay? And this issue switches according to the topic that we're discussing. Meaning, we've said before that he's meriting life because of his taste of Shabbos, but haschia b'chayim, the meriting of life, mityacheset it directly relates to le'hargashat hatam shel haShabbat atzma, to a tasting of the Shabbat's essence itself, or divining its true meaning truly connecting to Shabbos. Be'od shehagdula bacharu, in contrast to how we said that one chooses greatness for themselves, and that phrase, choosing greatness, right, is mityacheset that directly relates la'ava devareh shel Shabbos, to a love of the aspects of Shabbos, how to keep Shabbos, the laws of Shabbos, what's happening on Shabbos. The relating to that aspect of Shabbos is choosing greatness. Hem advarim. Those two things are the same, meaning that's exactly the issue. Hargashat tosefet mahut adam b'Shabbos, a tasting or an experience of the added dimension, the revelation of the true impact and import of what man is, what humanity is on Shabbos. He toameh. That is the level of those who taste it. V'halot tosefet mahut adam, and the addition or the greater revelation of the essence of man. He atzmiuta shel birchat Shabbat. That is the essence of the blessing of Shabbos. Right? We said Shabbos was blessed, and Chachamim said, where do you see the blessing? In the Ma'ar Panav, in the illumination of the face. Right? V'ilu b'chirat hagdula, and when it comes to choosing greatness, mishtayachet, that directly relates lahavchanat ikar v'tafel, the ability to discern primary and secondary. If now, all of a sudden you have dat, and you discern a primary and a secondary, by relating directly to the primary, you've chosen greatness for yourself. Right? Once you relate to Shabbos, you understand that Shabbos is the main thing, right? Gadlut v'katnut shel Shabbos, the estimation and evaluation of greatness and smallness of Shabbos, k'moshen nitbar ba'ot hey, like it was explained in paragraph hey, she'avchanot v'arachot, that discernment and assigning value. Elohein toldateh shel tosefet hadat. That is the ability, the ramifications of this addition of dat, hanotzeret b'Shabbos, that is created on Shabbos. Ve'alkein, and therefore, bechirat hagdula, a choice of greatness, the choosing of greatness, mityacheset hi la'ahavat devar shel Shabbos. It directly relates to the love of the aspects of Shabbos. Be'od shehazechia b'chayim, while at the same time the meriting of true life, mityacheset hi la'argashat hatam shel Shabbos. That relates to the tasting of the reason of Shabbos atzma herself, meaning the essence of Shabbos. The word tam is always referred to as an essence. When you taste something or when you divine the reason of something, that's a direct apprehension of its essence. Okay? So, To'ameh chaim zachu v'gam ha'ohavim devareh gadula bacharu. Okay?
So you're saying that there's two issues. There's dat and there's life, and that dat you experience that by following the details of.
I think he's
Shabbat.
explaining this idea of To'ameh chaim zachu v'gam ohavim devareh gadula bacharu as a function. It's a description of the dat that's coming into Shabbos, how it functions. He's using that to say that since we explained how the bracha of Shabbos is this added dimension of dat, and that dat creates now an understanding of what Shabbos is vis-a-vis the rest of the week, right? So if the key here is dat, now let's look at that phrase and understand that, right? To'ameh chaim zachu, those that tasted Shabbos merited life, meaning true life. Somebody who has a connection to Shabbos is connecting to the true life that was invested to them on the sixth day, right? Because just like dat is more manifest, man is more manifest, so now chayim is more manifest, right? And because a person has dat, right, a person can relate to Shabbos, can choose to relate to the gedula b'charu. They can, meaning gedula is always when there is gadol and katan. Gedula is always a function of primary and secondary. So now that there's an added function of dat that allows someone to understand the difference, now they can use that dat and achieve greatness. And so the first half and the second half are both a function of dat.
Okay, but I'm struggling, I guess, with what he means by tasting Shabbat. I understand that he means.
Okay, there's a difference between, let's say, somebody who doesn't keep Shabbos, or doesn't have an appreciation for Shabbos. He doesn't have a way of engaging in Shabbos that he's literally experiencing himself on the level of Shabbos. And there's somebody who does, and he's what we call tasting Shabbos. He's experiencing an added dat because he's in Shabbos. He's benefiting he's connected to the essence of Shabbos itself by experiencing that dat and relating to Shabbos. Right? Shabbos feeds dat, dat feeds Shabbos. When Shabbos comes along, there's an extra level of dat, and that extra level of dat is what allows me to discern, right, and Shabbos vis-a-vis the rest of the week and make Shabbos. See what Shabbos is, right? We talked about, that was the last time. Mm-hmm. We talked about how this dat is both, it's received and it instigates, right? Okay, so that's the To'ameh chaim zachu. Once you're aware of that, to choose somebody who truly has a love, he has an emotional connection now, right? With that, he's choosing greatness for himself, meaning that's also a function of das. He's just saying that these are functions of das.
But there is a difference between halacha, which is the.
Yeah, he's saying there's a difference. The halacha is gedula bacharu.
Yeah. But so if halacha is gedula, but I'm still trying to grasp.
What's the difference between chaim? Right.
Tam is what? Because it's not the halacha.
No,
tam
no.
is not halacha.
No.
So what is the tam?
Tam is the experience actually of being in Shabbos. Meaning you can know that there's all kinds of halachot of Shabbos. There's all theory. Meaning you can get all excited about how to keep Shabbos and what the theories are. And then there's all that is meant to actually facilitate the experience. Somebody can taste Shabbos and not necessarily know the halachot, but he has oneg Shabbos.
So I guess I'm asking like this: if you want to really know the halachot, you have to learn the halachot.
Absolutely.
But
we're talking about loving the halachot.
How do you love? How do you taste that? How do you increase your level of tasting of Shabbat?
Okay, so practically, I think what you're asking is how do I get to a level of appreciating these things?
Yes.
Well, I think what he's saying is the more dat you have, the more you can get into it. So what I would suggest is trying to experience dat specifically through Shabbos, and how Shabbos is meant to fuel your gut. Meaning, the more aware you are on the level of dat or Shabbos, the more Shabbos you have, and you can engage in these two levels that are manifestations of your higher being on Shabbos.
But it always starts with...
He's saying it's expressing itself in two separate places here. That's what he's saying. He's saying truly connected to Shabbos is on two fields you're going to experience it.
Right.
You're going to experience it on the level, the essence of Shabbos itself, you're going to be bound to that and appreciate the dimension, the experiential difference in dimension of Shabbos. But there's also the theoretical, how you emotionally feel. It's going to also cause a connection, an emotional connection, to even the abstract aspects of Shabbos. It's not just the experience of being in it, but the love of meaning the description of what is happening, the theoretical understanding of what's happening. Those are two different fronts that your Shabbos is manifesting. I think that's how you have to look at it.
Yes.
Shabbos, there's this level of reality and this level of reality, and they're both being fueled by Shabbos.
Yeah, I guess I don't
It's
know
the
why I'm
poetic
having
nature. You think that's really?
No, I'm just having a struggle with. I understand the second part, which was you have to learn the halachot to be able to understand it.
But it's not talking about learning the halachot. It's a love of the halachot. Meaning, it's not talking about in how well you know the halachot. It's that when you know the halachot, you have an emotional connection to them. It's talking about how you're connected to Shabbos. You're connected because you're embodying a higher level of Chaim, and you also have an emotional connection, theoretical connection to Shabbos. It has a value to you emotionally. One is the experience. It's like this: you could really, really enjoy being with somebody you love, and not think about how or why. But then when you're not there, you can think about all the reasons why you love them, and you can celebrate that even when you're not there with them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? There's an emotional connection there. Okay. Okay. So that was actually our first Maamar that we went through the first time.
It's good.
So
it's good.
yeah.